Hello, we've been drawn here to speak with you. This was not our intention, but we now see that this is... We feel drawn to do this.
What's drawing you to speak?
It seems there are a number of issues and feelings that we have that are guiding us to be connected to this woman, but also now we feel compelled to speak of them with you. We're not sure why.
Mm-hmm. And when you say guided to this woman, you mean to Mary?
Yes.
What would you like to speak about?
It is really about the state of our souls and the injustice we feel about our lives on earth, specifically the way men have treated us.
Yep.
It is difficult to speak with you as you are a man.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not accustomed to speaking about these things either.
Mm.
In fact, we prefer not to, but for some reason we feel it may be good to discuss this with you.
Mm. I feel it would be good. You can see that I'm not the kind of man who would hurt you or abuse you in the manner that you have been abused.
Yes, we see this.
Mm.
As we said, it is difficult to speak of these things. We do not understand how it is possible to free ourselves of these feelings, of the events that happened in our earth life. We understand, we have been with this woman a very long time, so we understand, or we should say, for most of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Which to us is actually, I myself lived on the earth a long time ago.
How long ago did you live?
It is, I do not, it
know.
is difficult to say.
Yeah.
But I lived in a culture where men, was typical for us to be bought and sold or traded.
Mm-hmm.
And there were many difficulties inherent in the life as a woman, but all of us endured these things. All of us women in that culture. It is difficult for me to speak about this.
Can you feel why it's so difficult for you to speak about?
There is a sense of fear even in the recounting of these events.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know why. This is why we are here. We hear you talk of things, but we do not understand how to do them.
Yes. Perhaps I can explain a little more detail about the only way in which emotions can leave a person. And then we can discuss how to go about that process in sort of a willing manner or a desirous manner.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we have any emotions inside of us, if we spend our time trying to deny them or trying to get away from them, then they are like boulders inside of our soul that we carry around with us for the rest of our life. They affect every choice that we make and every decision that we make. And they also affect what we attract, the different things that we attract into our life as a result of them. If we could release the boulder, sort of like letting go of the boulder and stop carrying it, then it has the effect of it no longer influencing your life in any way. And it becomes then just a memory rather than an emotional memory of the past. So at the moment, you have stored within you all of these emotional memories of the past, where you have a physical or an intellectual memory that's connected with a whole group of feelings that you have not wanted to feel for a long time.
Yes.
And because these emotions are present within you, it makes you feel like any time you even think about the memories that come up, these emotions get triggered and it causes a lot of distress.
And we do not understand, in comparison to how long we have lived now, these things that happened in our past, it was for such a brief time.
Mm-hmm.
Why must we revisit them in order to grow?
Well, it's because these emotions within you are preventing you from being able to fully experience all of your own emotions. And so they are actually preventing you because you're trying to suppress them. You're trying to make them go away. You're trying to forget them. Because of that, they are stored within you and they are preventing your growth. The only way for true growth to occur is for these kind of emotions to actually be released from you by experiencing them fully. Just like a child would fully experience an experience, if it's allowed to, by its parents. And this is the only thing that is preventing you from growing, actually. The only thing stopping you from moving forward in the spirit world and moving to more beautiful places and places of more safety in the spirit world is, in fact, your own resistance to the emotion that you don't want to feel.
Mm.
And if this emotion is stored inside of you, it will dictate to you the rest of your life. It will affect how you respond the rest of your life, the rest of your existence, even in the spirit world. So it's like an event. These are like events that occurred that have emotions associated with them that you ladies do not wish to feel. And as a result of that, you are locking yourself up in stagnation. The only way forward, you've tried many other ways forward, but the only way forward is actually to feel these emotions. And you'll find if you're willing to feel these emotions, with God's help, you'll progress very rapidly from where you currently are into a new condition. And this is exactly what Mary also needs to do, but it's something that you and her both resist. And this is some of the attraction that you have between yourself and Mary, is that Mary has a whole group of emotions too that she needs to feel, that are like boulders inside of her, and she needs to experience them to work her way through them. But she feels that that's a pointless process, or sometimes feels that, and often you then feel attracted to her, causing her to believe and hold on to these emotions and believe that it's actually a pointless process to release them. So you're helping each other, preventing each other from progressing. It would be far better if you could allow yourself to experience the emotions, as I said, with God's help, because then these emotions can flow out of you, and that's like letting go of the boulder. So that's like, instead of at the moment in your soul, the boulder is carried around in your heart wherever you go. But if you could release the emotion, then the boulder is dropped on the ground and you never need to carry it again. You will still have a memory of the event, but you will have no harmful emotions of the event.
We understand this concept because, as we said, we have listened before.
Mm-hmm.
But we simply do not know how to commence this process. We feel we do not want to, I suppose.
Yes, because the way forward, how to do it is quite simple. And that is, all you need to do is cast your mind back to the time on earth when you were harmed and allow yourself to feel any emotion that comes up as a result of that. So So, for example, you'll have some emotions of terror to feel. You'll have some emotions of sadness and grief to feel. And you might have some anger come up as well. And it's a matter of allowing yourself to feel these emotions without harming anybody else. Just allowing yourself to go through the emotions. Now, one way of doing it is that you can pray for God's help to do it and ask God to receive love from God to help you do it. And the other way is to try to do it yourself, which is a bit more difficult because it feels like you're totally alone.
We feel that we will be totally alone, and we do not.
But can you see right at the moment you're not totally alone?
No, we are with each other and we like it this way.
Yes. But can you see that you're with each other, and one of the reasons why you're with each other is for support?
Yes.
But if you think about it also, each of you are supporting the other in not feeling the emotion.
How can we do it another way? How can we support each other to feel?
Well, this is about having the bravery and courage to actually go into the emotional experience of what you remember. So you could start discussing what happened to you and allow each other to feel like their experience. So in other words, when a person discusses their experience, if there is any emotion left over inside of them, usually what happens is that emotion starts coming out during the discussion, and what you would do is you'd let the person feel those emotions, and you'd just let them do it. Does that make sense? This
would be difficult to speak of these things.
Yeah. Well, there's also some people in the spirit world who have been through the same emotions, and I can certainly introduce you to them so that they can show you what to do. But it does, in fact, get down to the point of whether you want to do it or not. The difficulty you face is if you do not want to do it, then you will stay where you currently are for how long you don't want to do it. Now, I know you feel quite safe staying where you currently are, but if you think about what you do finish up attracting where you currently are, whenever Mary has, dark people around her, dark men around her who are quite sexually attacking, each of you become afraid, right?
Yes.
So you are still attracting men who are quite abusive through this linkage that you have with Mary, and then you feel like you have to protect Mary, but the reality is now you're actually starting to work through some of the emotion related to your own abuse. And what I'm suggesting is there's a much faster way to do this that will require you having the ability to feel some intense emotions, but the intense emotional experience won't last for a long time. If you think about how long you've been passed now from the earth, it's a long time, and yet still you have not really, things haven't changed during that time very much at all. There's been some change, but not a large change. And the reason why is because all this emotion is locked up inside of you.
We must be willing to feel many emotions, in fact.
That's correct, yeah. And you could actually encourage each other to do so. And I can also help by bringing some women who can assist you to feel these particular emotions. And also later you might find that having some kind men come and speak with you will also help you deal with some other emotions. Because, oftentimes there are belief systems in a person who's been harmed by the opposite gender that all people of that gender are the same. And that's not true. So, we could actually ask some people who can come to assist you to come and assist you. But in the end, it does require your own willingness.
How do we develop willingness? What is the first step, the first 3 steps we must take? We understand. I do not know that. I just simply think that if we saw one step and then another we should take, and then the one after that, then perhaps we would be okay to continue on alone. But
when you say continue alone, you won't have to be alone through this process if you don't want to be. but you need to stop relying on other people to help you avoid the actual emotion. So at the moment you believe that sort of many of you are helping each other avoid the actual emotions relating to the earth-based life that you had, right? And what I'm suggesting is that all of you could actually help each other feel the emotions of the earth-based life. And if you need some external assistance, we can bring some spirits who have already gone through that process, women who have been raped and harmed when they're on earth, who have already gone through that process and are now happy. They can come to you and show you what they've done in order to become happy. But to do that, it will require just one main thing from you, and that is a desire to do it. Because if you don't desire to do it, then you'll fight whatever they say. You'll fight every suggestion they make. Does that make sense?
I think so.
See, at the moment, you're sort of fighting every suggestion that I make. And one of the reasons why you're fighting the suggestions I make to Mary is because you believe I'm a male and I don't understand. Right? But the reality is, I've had also a history of being harmed, physically and violently harmed, and I've had to go through many of my emotions to address those particular things. So I've had to also go through these experiences in the way that I'm suggesting to you.
We have a question. Why was it that we had to be alone when we went through these things when we were on Earth?
Well, you didn't have to be alone. It was just the reason.
We were alone. Why were we alone?
I understand you were alone, but you didn't have to be alone. It was because of the people around you that you ended up alone. The people around you made choices that were harmful, and these choices caused you to be alone going through the experience. Now, there were actually spirits with you trying to assist you going through the experiences, but you didn't see those spirits. And you didn't see any person on earth because there was no person on earth supporting you. So as a result, you felt alone. The reality is that I could bring some spirits to you who did help you through that time, but you wouldn't recognise them, right? Because you didn't see them at the time. The other thing is that a lot of events that happen on the earth happen not for any, destiny or fate, but because of a simple reason, and that is people choose to do bad things. So the men around you chose to do bad things. And because they believed they could, they got away with it. Now, they're not getting away with it now in the spirit world. Many of them have had to, and still are enduring many, many years in the depths of what are called the hells, trying to work through the reasons why they chose to do such things. And if you wish, I could show you where some of those men who have harmed you live, and that way you could see that actually there is justice in terms of what they're going through. And there is, and their own resistance to what they've done is the main thing that causes them to remain where they are.
To be very honest, we do not care about this. We don't care where they are. We don't want to see them. We're not interested in those people anymore. Why would we visit them? Why?
Primarily to see that there is justice. Because at the moment you are not even convinced there is justice.
But this is a delayed justice, if you call it this. This is a delayed justice. When we were in those situations, we were alone. And we understand what you're saying about why, but now it seems that I know you're saying we don't have to be alone, but it feels very much that we will be alone when we do these things that you suggest. And so it seems that we must be alone in the act of abuse, and then alone again as we free ourselves from it. And so we don't want to be alone.
But the emotion you're feeling is injustice now.
No, we don't want to be alone. We are afraid to be alone. This is not injustice. We do not feel we can do it alone.
And I'm saying to you that only...
And it is not justice it is the justice in the moment that we are concerned with. In the moment we were abused and the moment we must feel.
And justice was not possible in the moment because of the reason I gave you. Each person has free will, and some people choose to do bad things and evil things. And as a result of that, these evil acts harm other people such as yourself.
Yes, so why must we now relive that? Why must we now relive that if it was so unjust?
Because you haven't fully experienced the emotion of what happened to you. It's not about reliving the experience. It's about reliving the bits that you didn't let yourself feel at the time. See, there were certain things you did let yourself feel at the time, and you will not have to relive those particular parts. But there are certain parts that you didn't feel at the time and that have been stored inside of you, and only you have control over what gets released and what does not. Nobody else has control over the feelings that are inside of you. Only you can choose to feel them. Once you choose to feel them, you can release them, but it's only if you choose to feel them that they can be released. And this is a fact right across for every single person who's ever lived. So even the persons who have harmed you are going to have to feel every emotion that caused them to harm you, and they are also going to have to feel every single thing that they caused you to feel.
We do not care. Why do you keep telling us about these people? It is us we are concerned with. I apologise if that is very selfish, but...
No, it's not. I don't feel it's selfish. I just feel that it's very important for you to understand that every single person who has ever lived is going to have to choose to feel every single thing within them. Every single person. This is not unique to you. Every single person, even people that I can bring to you who are now happy, have had to go through this particular process. And what you are doing is you are rebelling against the process, and that is keeping you in your current location. It's keeping you very solid in your current location. So the question you really need to ask yourself is, do I want to remain as I have done for the life I've been in the spirit world thus far, or would I like things to improve? That's the real question you need to ask yourself. And rather than rebelling against the way in which to improve your condition, it would be far better to allow yourself to experiment with it to see whether it can happen or not. See, at the moment, you are reasoning with me, trying to get me to suggest to you that you shouldn't have to do any of these things. And I'm saying to you that every single person who has ever lived is going to have to do these things. Every single person who has ever lived. And it's impossible to avoid these things if you wish to improve, if you wish to have a better location in the spirit world, a better life in the spirit world, more happiness, more love around you than you currently have. Without doing this, it's impossible to get all of those things. Now, the one benefit you have over Mary is this. The badness that was perpetrated against you because you are no longer on earth cannot ever be perpetrated against you again if you choose to feel. For Mary, because she's on earth, there is the additional possibility that she may be harmed in the future. And that's what makes her additionally resistive to addressing the emotions that she's carrying around.
So you're saying to us that we would only need to do this again, feel this once again, or what happened to us.
When I say feel it once, when you say feel it once, it doesn't mean you will have one emotional experience and it will all be gone. You will have to feel everything that's inside of you about that experience, and then it will be gone. So that might take maybe a few months of human time to do that. But the benefit is that you'll never have to do it again.
This is good.
And you'll also not be carrying around the rock that's in your heart.
Yes.
And so you've dropped it, and that'll give you a sense of lightness and freedom that you currently do not have. So these are the benefits of doing it. And there is no chance of you being harmed again because you're not on earth. So there's no chance of you being harmed again if you choose to do it. Now, if you choose to keep coming back to earth and attaching to other women like Mary who have been harmed, who do not want to feel their emotions, then you will get harmed through those interactions still, as you have been harmed in the spirit world through those interactions. That's why sometimes these bad men come through the person and harm you, because of the connection you have on the earth. If you were just in the spirit world, the men who harmed you could not come to you without you wanting them to come to you. And you've already said to me that you don't want them to come to you. So they can't come to you. They can only come to you through your interactions that you've been engaging on earth. Does that make sense? Yeah. So in a way, you know how you've been influencing different women on earth, and Mary is the latest in a series of women that you've been influencing, right? When you provide this influence to these women on earth that you believe is a protective-based influence on them, the reality is that you are exposing yourselves to more harm, because the harm is occurring on the earth, you see. See, if you had allowed yourself to feel the emotion about the harm, then no person who ever harmed you, either on earth or in the spirit world, could get to your current location. So every time you come back to influence a lady on earth, you are actually exposing yourselves to more harm.
Yes. This is sad.
The only way, can I suggest, the only way that you can help a lady on earth without exposing yourself to more harm is to drop the boulder, the emotional boulder that you currently have, and get into a better condition. When you do that, you'll be able to come to earth and help the ladies who have been harmed, but you will not be harmed by the interaction yourself. So that some women that I would like to introduce you to do not get harmed by these interactions anymore. Does that make sense? And they can still help women like yourself and women like Mary, because they've worked their way through the emotions and they've let go of the emotion. They've dropped the rock of all of these emotions that they've been carrying around.
We don't feel that we are influencing these women, only befriending them, but...
Well, you're befriending them, but you're also attempting to protect them. You're attempting to provide guidance to them, right? To avoid dangerous situations. And you're not always successful. And the reason why is because these women have emotions inside of them that they need to also release that keep attracting dangerous situations. And that's why a lot of times your positive, influence to protect them doesn't finish up protecting them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there's a lot of good reasons to not do what's currently happening and try something different.
So what would be our first step?
Well, I feel the first step really is to allow yourselves to speak with other women who have also been harmed in the same manner as yourself, but who have worked their way through it. So that would be my suggestion as to your first step. The second step, I feel, is listen to the advice they give you about how to let go of your own emotional boulders, to let go of your own emotional harm that has happened. Listen to their advice, because they are people who have done it. So it would make sense for you to listen to their advice. Right? And thirdly, I would suggest to you that if we get them to show you where they currently live, so that you have some kind of hope for the future, that things will be better. At the moment, you do not have much hope for the future that things will be better.
We don't. It is not this. It is not this. It is this fear that we have of It is as if we have forgotten the capacity to feel these things. We do not remember how to start.
That's
we
okay.
understand from what you have been saying for many years and months that we will go somewhere better, but we feel frozen. And as you speak, there is a fear that rises up in me.
Well, what's the fear about?
Of feeling these things.
Okay, and that's the reason why the feelings are frozen. Fear is like a layer of ice over the top of the grieving emotions.
And this is my question. How may we crack this ice?
Well, what I'm suggesting to you is you talk to other women who have cracked that ice. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that will probably be easier than talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because even in this conversation, you sort of feel like I don't understand how difficult it is for you to crack that ice. I've had to go through similar emotional experiences, but you don't see that, right? But maybe if you
it is
speak
hard
to these
for us
women,
to feel that anyone has been through similar experience.
Exactly. But the fact is that all of you women who are together have been through similar experiences. So it would make sense that there must be other women who have also been through a similar experience, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So what I suggest is we bring some of those women to you so that they can share with you not only their own experience, but also so they can show you how to crack through that layer of fear.
This would be wonderful.
And allow yourself to feel the grief that's there.
This would be wonderful.
But you understand that it's going to be an emotional experience. And they can support you through the emotional experience, but they can't force you to do it. Only you can choose to do it because it's your emotion.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they can show you how to do it with God or without, depending on what you would like. But the reality is that it's going to be much easier doing it with God's help than without. So my suggestion is to do it with God's help. But that is also your choice. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what I would suggest is that we bring them, We bring them so that you can meet them. Would you like that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's ask them to come.
Yes, they seem kind.
Yes, they're very kind. And they'll be able to share with you what they've been through, but you're going to need to be open to their sharing. In other words, you're going to need to let yourself feel what you feel when they're telling you about things that have happened to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that will help you start this process.
Yes. We would like this very much.
And if you can allow yourself to do that and do also what I suggested, to allow yourself to crack through this ice of fear, which is actually about feeling the fear rather than resisting it. And they'll show you some things about how to do that. And then also, if you could get down into some of this grief, you will find you will progress quite easily. The key is to not resist the process and not justify to yourself any reason for resisting the process. This is what these women have had to stop doing themselves. They've had to stop justifying why they shouldn't have to go through it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
We feel relieved in this aspect because you have told us we would only need to deal with it once and it will never happen again. We feel satisfied with this.
Can I clarify? It can only happen again if you returned to this earth in the same condition. And you don't have to return to the earth.
So we are safe now.
So you are safe.
Yes.
Yes.
And our other concern was how we should take this step when we feel so frozen, and it felt that we must do it alone. But now you have these kind women who already feel as friends. If they can help us, this is magnificent.
They'll be able to help you. The third thing that you need to do is to only help women on earth feel their feelings rather than shut down their feelings.
At this time, we have no idea how to do this, but
I
hopefully
agree.
we will learn this. Yes.
I agree. But see, once you begin to feel your feelings, you will then, these feelings will be very raw, but you'll also in that moment know how to help somebody else feel their feelings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so you have a great opportunity at this moment to help many women on earth work through their feelings about the harm that's been perpetrated against them, rather than blocking these women from doing that.
Yes, okay. Yes, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.